Hey everybody, this is Erica Vetra. Welcome back. I'm coming to you today with a video on back pain. So these are yoga stretches that you can do to help relieve back pain. And I'd like to have you get started on your knees. I'd like you to go ahead and stand up on your knees. And so to be honest with you, this first kind of exercise, you can either do standing up all the way on your feet or you can come down to your knees, whatever's more comfortable. So just go ahead and stack your hips straight over your knees. So you should have your knees about hips width distance. And if you'd like to measure that out, it's about 2 fists width or something like, around 6 inches, kind of along like the length of a dollar bill in that area. And just start to stand up straight and tall, whether you are on knees or feet. And then take your hands to your hips. Start to, find the tips of your hips with your fingers here. And if you can give your pelvis just a very slight, gentle curve forward, it's almost as if you were drawing your tailbone down to the ground. And what that's doing is it's bringing your hips a little closer to your rib cage and lengthening your low back, your spine. And at the same time, just lightly engage your core. So, nothing crazy strong, but just kind of lightly activate. The more you can keep your core engaged, the more it'll protect your spine. So what I'm doing here is I'm having you just develop a neutral posture so that we can kind of get started in this little series of exercises. So as you lift your belly up, lift up your heart at the same time, and then just soften your shoulders down your spine. And that's not to say to push them back. The goal here is to get as long and straight as you can, right? So think about the crown of your head coming straight up, as far away and as straight as possible from your tailbone. And then just stay here for a moment. With your arms down by your sides, turn your palms to face forward. And what that does is kind of opens your shoulders, opens your chest. So just begin to breathe slowly and deeply. And while you're here, I want to let you know that this is actually the first in my series of pain relief videos. So starting with back pain, because next to the common cold, I think it's the most common ailment in the United States. It's a huge issue. And I actually have been suffering from back pain for years. This has been a problem for me for a long time. So watched a lot of videos on back pain. I've done a lot of videos on back pain. And I really wanted to offer what helps me and what I think could help you as well. So as you're here kind of developing this neutral posture, I want you to ask yourself, what hurts, right? And so if you just kind of think in your mind about the sentence, it hurts when I, just in terms of back pain, right? Because the fact of the matter is the spine is a really intricate thing. We all know this. There's tons of, nerves and muscles and little bones and cartilage and everything. So there's not one kind of back pain. There are many different kinds of back pain. And some of us have more trouble with flexion, going forward or forward folding. Some of us have more trouble with extension. Some of us have more trouble with lateral movement. It totally depends. You might be experiencing more than one of those things, but really ask yourself, what movements hurt? What movements help my back feel better? What movements help increase pain or discomfort? And so from here, softening down to tabletop pose. This is hands and knees. All you're doing is stacking your shoulders over your wrists. So I like to start off yoga practice in this way as well, because it just helps me get some mobility in my spine. And so this is a really wonderful thing that you can do really anytime throughout the day, anytime you feel pain or even not, So just as you inhale, think about lifting your hips and your heart, dropping your belly. And since you are dealing with pain, pay attention. Does it hurt when you do this? If you feel discomfort, don't go far, right? So maybe it's just a little bit of an arch, maybe just a few degrees. And if that's going well, you can start to go a little bit deeper. Slide your shoulders away from your ears and lift your gaze up. And this is cow pose. And then as you're ready, what you're doing is reversing that motion to cat pose. So beginning to round your spine and taking your chin towards your chest. Like I said, really go slow here, because depending on who you are, depending on your history of injuries or pain or activity, anything, one of these motions is going to probably feel a little bit more comfortable than the other. So just listen. The key is to just really go slow. And so just continuing to move really softly, really gently. Like I said, this is increasing a little bit of mobility and kind of warming up the spine. So a lot of back pain videos will show you stretches. I believe, and I've experienced myself, that it's nice to be just a little bit warm before you stretch. You want to get the muscles just a little bit heated, not sweating or crazy, but it's hard to stretch a cold body. So just add in a little bit of hip movement here and really pay attention to exactly where you feel this. So for example, my back pain increases when I fold forward, when I flex, right? So things like back bending actually feel really nice for me. Things like bridge pose and wheel pose. And I'll show you bridge pose in a little while, but you might have the same thing, you might be different. As you're ready, just gently come back to neutral. Moving on to something called threading the needle. This is a very gentle, easy twist. As you inhale, just take your right arm up, and you might not be able to go too far, but take it up a little bit, maybe a little more, as much as you feel comfortable with. And then as you exhale, you're gonna bring your right arm between your left wrist and your left knee. So that's kind of why we call it threading the needle. And then your head is gonna come down towards the ground, and you're gonna feel a twist and a stretch right in the backs of your shoulders and your upper back, and also a twist all through your spine. And it's important to keep your hips stacked over your knees and try to keep them square. Sometimes they want to move to one side or the other. And if this is feeling a little intense, you're welcome to use some sort of, a prop, a pillow, a cushion, or a block or something to rest your head on. And so really just staying here for a few breaths, being patient. You can walk your left hand a little forward if you want more of a stretch, if that's going well. And I'd like you to keep in mind that back stretches usually take a little bit of time for you to settle in. So you try to stay for a few breaths. Take a couple breaths to get into the stretch, into the pose, and then see if you can kind of soften into it a little bit more. And then as you're ready, bring your left hand back in line with your face. Gently push up back to tabletop pose. We're going to switch sides. And if you want, to kind of neutralize the spine between sides, I like to do that. Just take a couple of rounds of easy, gentle cat and cow, just really keeping things fluid so things don't catch. You could be dealing with any level of pain here. On a scale of 1 to 10, it could be a 1, it could be a 10. And the nice thing about these stretches is that everyone can do them, whether it's 1 degree of bending or it's a really deep back bend. It really depends on what your situation is. So as you're ready, let's go to the other side. Lift your left arm up, a little or a lot, whatever you feel ready for. And then as you exhale, thread that needle. Take your left palm to face up. Rest your left cheek on the ground or on a cushion. And walking your right hand forward if you want a little bit more in this stretch. Keeping your hips, like I said, squarely stacked above your knees. And have a few deep breaths, easy, gentle twist. And another thing in yoga, and especially with spinal stretches, is you gotta breathe really deep, right? So your spine is composed of all of these vertebrae, all of these little tiny bones, and what we wanna do is create space between them. Our lifestyles tend to promote this sort of compression and pressure and kind of crunching in a lot of cases. So we're really just trying to elongate, right? And just breathe some space into there. So as you're ready, go ahead and release. Bring your right hand back down next to your face. And then working all the way back up into tabletop pose. And so just coming back into tabletop pose, from here we're gonna take it into something that we call puppy stretch. So this is a back bend. So if your specific pain has to do with back bending, just take it real slow. And as we come down into this stretch, go ahead, let me know what's your pain level on a scale from 1 to 10, on a general given day, or maybe even while doing this video. For example, on a good day, I'm at about a 2 or a 3, just normally. And then when I get super tight, it shoots up a lot. So I try to do a lot of these back stretches just whenever I can. And so the puppy stretch, you're going to keep your hips stacked right over your knees, right? So don't let yourself come forward or go back. And then start walking your hands forward. Maybe you can take your forearms down to the ground. And then eventually you're thinking about opening your heart towards the ground. So you're going to walk forward as much as you feel comfortable. And this back bend is happening in the upper part of your spine rather than the lower part. So it's happening right in the thoracic region, right behind your shoulder blades. So eventually you might get to the point where your chest can rest on the ground. This is also a pretty big shoulder opener. So breathe, take it slow, keep your hips up high, and then your low back is pretty neutral. So think about lengthening your tailbone towards the back of your mat. It's gonna keep you from bending your low back. You really want the bend to be isolated in your upper back. And stay here for a few breaths. And think about each inhale getting a little longer, each exhale maybe sinking a little deeper, but really just being compassionate, right, with whatever you're feeling. And then as you're ready, slowly start to come back to your forearms. Slowly make your way back to tabletop pose. From here, you're gonna tuck your toes, or you can stay on your knees, it's up to you. We're gonna come all the way down onto our bellies. So you're just gonna lower down, nice and slow. Keeping with the back bending, untuck your toes. We're taking baby cobra. So press your big toes into your mat and back. You really wanna extend your legs. And then in order to, again, isolate the back bend in the upper portion, not the lower portion, you're gonna press your pelvis down into your mat. See if you can relax your glutes, so that you want the work to be in your back muscles, not your butt, right? So try to relax your butt, but press down. Take your hands under your shoulders, and then keeping your gaze down in order to keep your neck neutral, you're gonna start to just lift your heart. Now this is baby cobra pose, so you don't have to come up very high. Just think about rolling your shoulder heads away from your ears. And then again, like I said, keeping your head down. If you take your gaze too far up, you're crunching your neck. And you know, some of you guys might be experiencing neck pain or cervical spine pain. So it's really, really thinking about elongating everything. And then gently squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other. If you want to take this further, if this is feeling good for you, keep your hips down and then float your palms off of your mat. Think about drawing your elbows back towards your toes. And just a couple more breaths. Again, choose your own level of intensity. Keeping your gaze down, kind of just past the front edge of your mat, and then very gently relaxing. Now from here, we're going to try one more version of Cobra. This is a little bit more involved. So again, just take it slow. This is what I like to call Spider Cobra. So you're going to tent your fingertips outside the edges of your mat and then go ahead and move them forward in front of your shoulders. So it's either going to be just a few inches in front of your shoulders, or you can take them way out. This depends on your own level, your own preference, right? Your elbows will point straight up to the sky. And as we begin, keep that same position in your low body, right? So toes back, legs out straight, pelvis down, and then butt relaxed as you can. Elbows are going to point up, like I said. Draw your chin to your chest, and then begin to push down into your fingertips. Let your arms do the work here. Let your fingers do the work. And just start to lift your heart off the ground. Keep your elbows pointing up. They might want to start to go back, but you're going to try to keep them up. And then when you've gone as far as you want to go, begin to lift your chin up out of your chest and then roll your shoulders behind you. Now you can stay here, or you might want to take it even further. Again, my personal situation is that back bending actually feels better than forward folding. So for me, flexion is harder than extension. This is extension right here. Maybe your arms can straighten, but your hips, your pelvis stays all the way down on the ground. And then puff your chest forward, almost like a king cobra, right? Really use that finger strength and feel that really sweet back bend right behind your shoulder blades. As you're ready, as slowly as you came into it, gently, gently, gently release. And then from here, rest one ear to your mat. Just take a little break here. Take your arms down by your sides with your palms facing up, and then walk your fingertips just about a centimeter closer to your feet, so you're getting a lot of length in your neck. Just take a couple of nice, deep, neutralizing breaths. And if it does feel good for you, you can sort of windshield wiper your hips and your knees back and forth, just real slow rocking back and forth, releasing the spine. At this point, just check in, see how you're feeling. Maybe you've built up a little bit of heat. And again, these stretches, they don't have to be done all together. You can, take bits and pieces from this video. You really need to be very aware of what your own situation is, especially for back pain. It's just such a delicate situation. From here, we're actually going to come all the way back up to seated and try some forward folding, right? So just however you want to get there, maybe just push up to hands and knees, and then swing your legs out in front of you. So I want to be really careful setting up for this forward fold. Depending on who you are, this is going to be either more comfortable or less comfortable. So again, just go slow. And I know I keep saying that, but it's really important, right? Yoga for back pain is about feeling better. So it's never about mastering a certain pose. It's about giving yourself enough of a stretch so that it feels better. Okay, so for a forward fold, the way that I really like to set up for this is, come to sit all the way down on your sit bones, and you can even kind of move your excess flesh out to the sides if you have any excess flesh. I definitely do. So you're gonna bend your knees, bring the soles of your feet to your mat, then bring your knees together. From here, I want you to bend your knees so much that you can glue your torso onto your thighs. Okay, what this is going to do is keep your spine really long. And if you're feeling this, just hang out here, draw your knees in a little closer and kind of make a little ball, right? So you're flattening your spine against your thighs. And now as you're ready, stop. You feel like you need to stop, okay? Flex your toes towards your face, try to keep your feet together. Now I want you to grab the bottoms of your feet. And it's almost as if you were peeling the outside edges of your feet back. So you're never kind of letting your feet fold, right? And that's really important because it's going to set up the alignment of the bones in your legs. And the bones in your legs plug into your hips, which are the base for your spine. So you see how this is important, right? So flexing your feet towards your face, you're going to stay just like this, gluing your torso to your thighs, and then just begin to walk your heels forward. So this is a truly lengthening forward fold, and you need to stop as soon as you feel a good stretch. So maybe that's here, maybe it's a little further, and then in addition to walking your heels forward, you can sort of walk your sit bones back. Just be really sensitive, keep your belly on your thighs, and then eventually you might come to a place where you can fold a little bit further, keeping your feet flexed. And at this point, you might see the outer edges of your feet wanting to go forward. What that's doing is externally rotating your legs. You don't want to do that. If you can internally rotate your femurs, your legs, pulling the outside edges of your feet back, it's going to feel a little bit more challenging, but it keeps that wideness in your sacrum and that low back so that you can safely fold forward. And then, to the best of your ability, try not to let your shoulders creep up towards your ears. So you want everything long, even your neck. Your neck is part of your spine. And see if you can stay here for a few breaths. Just as much as your feet go forward, your hips go back. It's like you're hinging like a sandwich board. And then slow as can be, very slowly, you're going to start to come all the way up, all the way back to seated. So a really nice way to neutralize the spine after that is something called staff pose, Dandasana. This is deceptively challenging. And what staff pose is sitting exactly like this in an L shape, right? Except you're going to really fire up your legs, flex your feet, pull your toes back towards your face. And again, in keeping with that idea of rotating, taking your excess flesh out of the way, you're going to grab your right thigh, spin the inner part of your right thigh down towards the ground, move the outer part out and up. Doing the same thing to your other leg. This does two things. Number one, it gets this flesh out of the way so that you can get a really firm base on the ground. You can sit really firmly. You can even feel both sit bones on the ground. And number two, it rotates your femur bones, your leg bones internally. Again, keeping that low back wide. So it's a really strong base. It's a very healthy way to sit. And then draw your belly button in towards your spine. Draw your shoulders down, 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 and then take your palms to the ground. And then sit up as tall as you can. Make your spine as long as possible. Keep those toes flexed. Keep them flexed enough so that you're almost kind of pressing the backs of your knees down onto the ground. Maybe enough that your heels lift. So your thighs are active here. Everything's active. Pull your belly up and in. Draw the sides of your neck back. Super straight line. And stay here for a few breaths. This is really challenging. If you're activating all the right things, it's a very challenging pose. And then as you're ready, nice and gently, just start to relax, release. From here, moving into a seated twist. So with everything, be careful with this, okay? On a good day, twisting helps me. On a bad day, it doesn't, right? So there might be some days where twisting feels okay, and other days where you might want to stay away from it, and that's totally fine. You know, don't judge yourself if one day you're feeling like you can do a backbend or a twist, and then another day it's just not going to happen. So go slow, right? So I want you to take the sole of your right foot outside your left leg. And there are many variations of seated twists. We're going to take kind of a chilled out one today, a calm one. So think about pressing down with the big toe ball under your right foot. I want you to keep both sit bones straight down on the ground. And this maintains the integrity of the twist and the verticalness of your spine, right? If you let one hip come off the ground, your spine's going to curve. You won't twist in a healthy way. So sit up straight and tall. Take your right hand behind you, palm down, fingertips facing away from you, and you can use this arm to lean against. Open your heart, open your chest, draw your shoulders away from your ears, back and down your spine. As you inhale, lift up your left arm. And as you exhale, just start to twist, just a little bit. And then if you want a little bit more, think about bringing your left elbow outside your right knee. And then what happens with a lot of people is sometimes you start to do this, right? You start to fold in. Don't let that happen. Really keep an open heart, open chest. Turn, breathe, keep pressing down in that right foot, keep flexing those left toes. Stand strong, keep lifting up instead of sinking back, right? Take your gaze to follow your right shoulder, so everything's twisting from the top of your head all the way down to the base of your tailbone. And then on a gentle exhale, take your gaze back to the front of your mat and very slowly release the twist. So same thing as before, bend your left knee and take the sole of your left foot outside of your right leg and keep your right leg out real straight in front of you. Think about pressing down, like I said, into that big toe ball mound of your left foot. Take your left hand behind you, place your palm on the ground. You can take it in pretty close to your back. And like I said, just kind of use that arm to lean against, to keep your spine nice and straight. Flex your right toes towards your face. As you inhale, lift your right arm. And as you exhale, start to just move into this twist, nice and slow. And if you find that you want more, you can take your right elbow to your left knee and use that kind of leverage to press yourself a little bit further. Take your gaze back past your left shoulder and then don't let yourself hunch over, right? Really draw your shoulders back and down. Keep your heart open, chest up, spine long. Visualize again that string pulling the top of your head far from your tailbone. Nice and strong and tall. And as you're ready, on an exhale, gaze forward towards the front edge of your mat and then slowly release your twist. Okay, so just taking both legs straight out in front of you. I'd like to go into a front body opener. This is called reverse tabletop. So make sure that your wrists are healthy for this. You're going to bend your knees and place your feet at hips width distance, parallel, right? So again, that's about the length of a dollar bill, more or less, about 2 fists width distance, and you can measure that with your hands if you need to. Hands are going to come behind you, fingertips facing forward. And as you're ready, just take your shoulder blades back and down your spine, lift your heart, and then you're going to lift your hips off of your mat. So it's like you're in a reverse tabletop, right? And then press the ground away with your hands and your heels float your hips higher. See if you can make a straight line from your knees to your shoulders. And then if it is okay with your neck, just drop your head all the way back, only if it's okay with your neck. Otherwise, you can keep your head up and think about lengthening the sides of your neck towards the back of your mat. So your neck will still be active, but it won't be crunched. One more deep breath in here. And then exhale, gently, gently, gently release. And then again, straightening your legs all the way out in front of you, you're gonna roll all the way down to your back. So if this is feeling okay, if you wanna go for the more challenging route, you're gonna keep your legs out straight, try to keep your heels on the ground, or you could bend your knees. Whatever's gonna work out for you better, right? Draw your belly button in towards your spine, start to put a curve in your back. Take your arms out front, and then as slowly as you can, knees bent or straight, you're gonna roll all the way down to your back. So we're gonna finish up here with just an easy twist and a hip opener. So this is one of my favorite stretches to do. It's a reclined pigeon with a little bit of a twist. So starting on the right leg, again, bend your knees, soles of your feet on your mat. Make a figure 4 with your right leg. So you're crossing your right ankle just over the left knee, just kind of the beginning of your thigh, right? Keep a really nice active flex in your right foot. And from here, just kind of take your right hand and push your right knee out away from you just a little bit. You're gonna feel some lengthening in your right hip. And try to keep your tailbone softening down onto your mat. And you can stay like this, or if you want a little bit more, you can lift up your left foot, grab behind your left thigh with both hands, almost like you're threading that needle, right? Your hand's gonna reach inside that figure 4, and then pull your right knee in towards your chest a little bit or a lot. Just really be careful. Go slow. There's no such thing as moving too slowly in yoga. It's just be very deliberate, be very kind to yourself, really just listen for any sensations. And then as you are ready, bring the sole of your left foot back down to the ground. Now, bump your hips just a little over to the right, just a few inches. Take your left hand to your right ankle and start to roll, to twist over onto the left side of your body. The sole of your right foot is going to come to the ground, and it doesn't have to reach all the way to the ground. You know, it can kind of float, and your right knee is going to stay pointing up. And now from here, there's a few things going on. You've got a spinal twist, as well as a right hip opener. And then can you try to get both of your shoulders down on your mat? Take your right arm out to the right, and let your gaze just kind of follow your right hand. Just nice and relaxed. And really just breathe into this. So a lot of back pain is correspondent with hip pain or hip, tightness or issues. So this is a really nice combination of a hip opener and a back stretch. And then just nice and slow, go ahead and release. Come back to your figure 4. Take your right foot down next to your left. We're switching sides. So as you're ready, lift your left leg up, flex your left foot, bring your left ankle just over the top of your right knee. First, just to open up that left hip a little bit, take your left hand to your left knee and push just very gently away from you. Remember to keep a flex in that left foot, and the reason for that is so that you don't kind of put any unhealthy twist or pressure on your left knee. Soft, low back. Let your hips kind of get soft on the ground. And then thread the needle once more. Take your left hand inside that figure 4. And grab the back of your right thigh with both of your hands. Stay just like this, or you can pull in a little bit. And I like to rock a little back and forth. It's kind of a nice low back massage. Just kind of easing that left hip open. And it goes without saying, one side might be your tighter side, your looser side, so just really keep that in mind. Just be kind to yourself. And then as you're ready, Bring the sole of your right foot back down to your mat. Grab a hold of your left ankle with your right hand. Pop your hips just a little over to the left. You're making room for your twist, right? And then bringing the sole of your left foot towards the ground. Again, it doesn't have to go all the way down. I like to keep a hand on my left ankle, right? And then your left knee is going to stay up. And that might take a little time. It might look something like this at first, but you're going to kind of just work it open as time goes on. And then see if you can try to get both shoulders down onto your mat. Really just relax your belly. Take your left arm out to the left. And your gaze can follow your left hand. And this is just a really nice hip opening spinal twist. And like I said in the beginning of the video, you might be at like 10 degrees of this pose, right? There's no such thing as moving too slowly. There's no such thing as, you know, the full expression of the pose, especially when you're dealing with pain relief. Your goal is to feel a healthy stretch. You just have to stay really aware. And then very gently release. We're going to end this session today with happy baby pose. So as you're ready, draw your knees into your chest one by one. Give them just a little squeeze. You can rock a little side to side. Hug your knees in. And then separating your knees, keeping them bent, grab your feet. Try to grab from the outside edges. Let the soles of your feet face the ceiling. And then start to pull gently with your arms, drawing your knees a little closer to the ground on either side of your torso. As you do this, we're going for true length. So remember, push your tailbone down into your mat. Push your shoulder blades down into your mat. Try to get your whole spine on the ground. Relax your throat here. And so just another couple of soft, slow breaths here. As you're ready, gently release. Release your feet. Take them back down to your mat. If you'd like one last kind of spinal release, go ahead, take your feet wide and draw your knees together and just slow windshield wiper back and forth. Just a very gentle release of the spine. You could pause for a couple of breaths on one side and then the other. And then just softening into Shavasana. So traditional Shavasana is just legs out, arms out. If this is tough on your low back, sometimes this can cause some discomfort. So you're welcome to either take the soles of your feet together with your knees out wide. This is Supta Baddha Konasana. Or if you'd like something just slightly different, you could keep your knees bent like we just did before. Take your feet out wide with your knees together. And this, for me personally, this is really nice. It just takes a lot of pressure off my lumbar spine, my low back. And just come to a place where you can rest and soften your shoulders. Let your palms be open. And just close your eyes. And feel free to stay as long as you can, as long as you want. As you're ready, just begin to deepen your breath. And slowly start to just move your fingers and toes. Roll back and forth a little bit if you'd like to. Draw your knees into your chest and make your way to a comfortable seat.